All right, everybody, welcome back to the Financier. This week we have Paul Lopez, Thai member from the Atlanta, Georgia chapter. He'll be talking about early stage investing in the ecosystem down there, what he's experienced from his background working in the space, what he's seeing this year and in the future of venture. So this is a very exciting episode. This is to celebrate National Entrepreneurship Week, so that you have a lot more coming up. Tune in. And let me know where you're streaming from, what questions you have for Paul, and anything else you may have on your mind. So without further ado, welcome, Paul. Thank you.
Thank you.
So how's it going over in Georgia? I know it's quite different from I'm in New York right now.
You know, I think that the pandemic has had a few silver linings. So I would say, you know what, you can't change control, so just accept what you have and do the best you can. And I think Atlanta's sort of in that kind of let's get it done kind of mode, in a positive, what do we control? And to that extent, I think our ecosystem's getting better and better every quarter. So.
Excellent. So I didn't mention, the two of us met through Thai New Jersey, or Thai Angel Network. I think you're the former president as well of the Thai Atlanta chapter. Is that correct?
Correct. And I'm proud to say that also the current world champions of the best angel chapter, because we got that award last fall. So
Yeah.
Very proud of the work the team has done over the last 3 years. In fact, we're literally about to add our 22nd company to the portfolio in just 3 years alone. So.
Wow. Yeah. I was looking at your portfolio. We're definitely going to get into that. It's very exciting. So why don't we take a step back? Tell us a little bit about your career, how you got involved with Thai, and then we'll talk about venture investing in a minute.
Sounds good. I grew up in India right through undergrad school, went to Catholic school, Catholic college, and in Kolkata, got to work with Mother Teresa, actually, which tells you I'm real old, because I did go to Catholic school and we had Thursdays off. So my mother made me go. No, actually, we wanted to go help out at one of the charities. But I then went off to the UK and spent a couple of years there working as an accountant in London, and then wanted to teach. So did my MBA in Ireland, came here to the US in, 1974 to do my doctoral work, which is sort of a requirement if you're going to teach at university level. Went out to teach at Cal State. So my first career was in teaching, but we don't pay teachers well. So my second career was in high tech, working for IBM, Xerox, et cetera, and ended up then getting into entrepreneurship, working with small and medium companies to grow them, et cetera. They wanted to hire me, so I ended up, of all things, going into banking, coming to Atlanta in 1998. It's a fabulous city. Please don't all move. It is getting better now, but we know it's a great place to bring up a family. And in that regard, then retired out of all of that, sold my interest to my partners, and got back onto Thai, et cetera. And through that, we started a VC firm after I'd sold my interest in the banking business to my partners.
Okay. What kind of banking did you do at the time?
So it was always in mortgage banking, which is a big set of unknowns, yet is our biggest purchase that we all make as Americans. And most people, unfortunately, are not well suited to understand the many parts of, when do you take a 30-year loan, even though very few people ever live in their house for 30 years. So it was always in mortgages. When I worked for a bank, we grew it from 1 billion a year to 6 billion a year. And then, of course, the crash hit. So I got out 6 months before all of that. We started our own. Took us a couple of years to sort of get back in that regard, and then did that for 10 more years as an entrepreneur with 3 other partners.
That's amazing. That's great timing, great industry. I was in banking myself before I started my own firm. But let me hear about, how did you come across Thai? I'm a young charter member. I joined maybe 3-4 years ago. I also helped launch our angel network, but we're nowhere near the scale that you guys achieved. But how did you come across Thai, and how did it really impact your professional network?
So I think many things are planned and many things just happen because there's a reason for them happening. So as I got into being an entrepreneur and have been here a few years in Atlanta, was thinking of getting onto maybe some boards, giving back, etc. And I got to meet a guy who was a CPA and had been part of Thai Atlanta. And this is back in 2012. And he said, you know what, you ought to go meet our incoming president, who is a delightful lady and a good friend now. And we went and had lunch, and she said, you know, I think you'll like this group. We sort of do meetings at this hotel, and we serve good food. As it turns out, samosas was a requirement of all Thai meetings, etc. And she said, just come, and if you like it, you can stay, kind of deal. Well, here I am, having now served on the board for about 5 years, 2 years as president, etc. And the best part of all is that I think I tell people, you know, if you give back, which is what Thai asks you to do, you will get back fivefold. And I have learned that, and I would tell you 99% of my business contacts, even though that is not planned, come because of Thai relationships.
Yeah, I'm the same way. It's about how much you give to the community, and you get that tenfold. So I started at zero as well. I was introduced to a charter member, and then I became more actively involved in creating the events, hosting them, bringing guests. And then obviously we're always hosted at an Indian restaurant. So all the samosas, fried, butter chicken, everything is always available there. So we miss that, but it's still exciting to do virtual events with everybody.
Yes, and the best part of all is, you know why that is, Vichar? I think it's because people come, if you give back and you give back openly and you want to help the ecosystem and others, etc. What happens is over time, even though you're not out soliciting business, and we tell people, please don't do it actively, people do business with people they know and people they trust. And that's become a two-way street without expecting it. And it is a wonderful, to me, the best networking organization I know of.
Yeah, I definitely find it the most meaningful. It's one of my favorite places to spend time outside of my own job, right? My own full-time job. So running my firm. So let's talk about, you became president. And then a few years ago, I think Thai globally really made a bigger move into the angel space, the early stage space. For people that don't know, Thai originated from Silicon Valley. So a lot of the roots of our organization is from that area. So how did you get into the venture side? It's a little different from the banking experience you did. Why did that story come up? 1111 Ventures. I'd love to hear about the origination. What's the involvement either with Thai or outside of it? What's the genesis of it? So you're one of the co-founders.
Yeah. So what had happened is that Thai does a very good job of bringing people together. I'd gone to a conference called ThaiCon Silicon Valley in May of 17. Approximately then, when we were all still meeting in person, several thousand people. And I found that it was a great best practices sharing area, that I could talk about Thai University, that we had grown a great deal. Somebody else would talk about a best practice in Mumbai or New Delhi or New York. And the one part that I heard over and over again was Thai Angels. And I didn't know much about what that meant. I was running a business, etc. And had heard about angel investing, but we weren't. I came back, and the president of Thai at the time, I said, hey, all these people are talking about angels, and we don't even talk about it. We're not doing anything. And he says, that's because you're like this. That's because Indians love to talk, but not write checks. So I said, now that we know that, in fact, he said, we've got all the documents. We got the membership agreements. We got the operating agreements. So literally, in May, we kicked off the creation of Thai Atlanta Angels. We also put into our membership agreement that you would invest at least $10,000 every year. We would say, don't come drink our coffee for free. And then the one other part was we put some very specific criteria about deal flow, and it has all stood us well in that regard. So out of all of that, while that was happening, on the board was another person who'd sold his business in the supply chain area. We were doing separate angel investing, et cetera, which is how we got started. And then we started to do an investment that was part of Thai Atlanta Angels, but we discovered that we were writing checks and other people said, boy, can we come in too? It's a great way. So we then said, let's create a for-profit company and we called it 1111 Ventures. And we opened it up in December of 17, closed in 45 days. Wow. And today, I'm pleased to say on that particular one, we have over 40 companies in our portfolio.
So let's talk about that, because I noticed you have a split portfolio. It's split between blockchain and advanced technologies. So it's unique. There's a lot of portfolio companies in there. So let's talk about why you have a split portfolio, and then how are you seeing all these investments? Where are they coming from? Where's the funnel coming from? Top funnel.
Yeah. So everybody told us that deal flow is going to be the big problem. And I always say when there's a problem, there's got to be a solution, right? Let me tell you the solution. You know what the solution is to deal flow?
No, what is it? Networking.
If people hear that you make decisions fast, you're productive, and you're writing checks, you won't have a deal flow problem.
Yeah.
So literally, what we did for our fund was we moved the 7 best investments my co-founder and I had made separately into the fund. So immediately, and we did it at a highly discounted kind of level of appreciation. We got a number of LPs to come in with us because they saw the immediate value of coming in immediately. So we did that. And then what we also chose to do was we said, let's either make a decision of yes, no, or come back in 6 months. Those were the only 3 decisions. It wasn't like, oh, study it for a long time. So we make decisions very fast. And then you ask, why is our portfolio split? We actually thought we would just do basically, AI, SaaS, it's funny to say, traditional technology, right? Not heavy, capital intensive, et cetera. And that's what we did. When we got to about 20 in our portfolio, we realized one of the issues of funds is that they're not liquid in any near-term fashion, right? We tell people you're not going to see an exit, probably 5 to 10 years, averaging 8, all those kinds of things. And why we tell people, you don't need the cash flow kind of deal. It's just nice to have kind of deal. And so we had done all our capital calls in the beginning. Well, my partner got very interested in the 2018 timeframe in blockchain. And we realized that blockchain could give us that liquidity without having exits.
Right.
So we pivoted. That doesn't mean we don't do any traditional stuff. We recently did one in healthcare tech as an example that's not blockchain oriented. So we're opportunistic, but blockchain became the second set of stuff. And we could afford to do things that would give us faster liquidity so we could keep adding to the portfolio. Now, by the way, for what it's worth, we've pivoted yet again to a combination of IoT and blockchain. We think that's another set of upward mobility. So.
Got it. So how much? So Atlanta is not a hot spot for startups. It's not on the map. It's not.
I disagree. No.
It's it's New York.
We've got enough. It's like saying New York has all these plays and Atlanta doesn't have any. I can only go to one in a weekend, so we have enough.
Yeah,
to do with more.
It's important to know that because people are moving during the pandemic, so Atlanta is one of the more popular spots. And then 2, every city that's outside of the coastal regions, the Gold Coast cities, New York, San Francisco, LA, are actual communities. They have businesses, thriving communities. People live there. There's a lot of business going on. And then a lot of these companies are, they don't have to be necessarily location based anymore anyway. Okay, so there were 3 investments in your portfolio that caught my eye. Leapcredit, Lottery.com, and Adcuratio from Princeton. Could you talk about one of the, Yes. Can you talk about one of the 3? They're very unique. They're different in the set. They seem like very big names. I'd love to listen to the story of how you maybe came across Lottery.com because it's a unique story, or Leapcredit.
Okay, I'm going to pick Leapcredit, I think, because it's different from what most funds would do. Lottery.com was one of our blockchain deals. Adcuratio was one of actually our very first deal that we did that sort of said there's a business behind it, et cetera. They are in the media tech space, et cetera, and we've made a big bet on them. But Leapcredit, we've actually made one of the biggest bets. It may be the biggest bet in our deal, in our portfolio, because it's a combination of equity, which is where we started. And then we've added, because they no longer wanted to give away equity, shouldn't have to, kind of deal. And we become one of their largest debt venture funds for them. And that combination has been very good. Leapcredit basically is run by the person, he wasn't at the time, got to know him through Thai. He's currently the president of Thai Atlanta. I'm on his board of Leapcredit. And it's a great business because it was a forgotten part of the marketplace. Banks don't touch uncollateralized loans, small loans, $800 for about 8 months. And they put together a team that clearly knew the business. They've been doing it in a different sector, more on the data analytics side, and they wanted to get into the actual lending side. So they brought folks like me and other, 2 or 3 other board members. And they've really taken off in terms of, there's a whole sector of the economy that is, they're banked. So all of this is done electronically. Basically, they give you a loan. They decide within a matter of minutes, literally no collateral, et cetera. And they give you 8 months to pay it back on a simple interest deal. We have raised north of, let's just say, multi-millions in our portfolio just for them alone. We continue, and we've seen some outside evaluations done that give us some very nice unrealized gains that we expect.
Amazing. So how has that performed in the last year? That business targets, right, small and medium-sized businesses, which have been the most hardest hit. So you probably have a good understanding of, one, their financial needs and who's in the most painful position right now.
So their customer is an individual. It's not, so it's somebody who has a job, probably earns $40,000, has less than $1,000 in the bank. They hit a problem. Is that what you're asking?
Yeah.
About companies like Leapcredit. So Leapcredit is not a B2B, it's a B2C company.
Got it.
And so people who literally, believe it or not, upwards of close to 70% of Americans don't have $1,000 in the bank. So, they're off to go a job, my car breaks down, the mechanic says I need $700 to get it fixed, or else whatever it is, right? There's a lot of that like that. So these folks with the power of AI are able to put together a lot of understanding, will this customer pay back or not? And you asked about what happened last year. Last year was flat, but it was flat by design because we didn't know what we didn't know. We didn't know how much the stimulus check would help them. We didn't know how much job employment would have. So literally Q1 was great right through 2019. They then went steady in terms of the top line. They were cautious about who to lend to because the likelihood of you paying back is the most important part. But as a result, they picked better quality clients, and actually their bottom line went up. Because when you're able to have less defaults, likelihood of people paying back. So, hey, as a shareholder or as a equity holder and a debt holder, they've done very well for us. And this year, they're likely to grow several fold. By the way, the numbers they used to have was like growing 20% a month. I'll say that again, 20% a month through 2019. So it seemed like things were like, oh my God, nothing's moving in 2020. And now they're back at not quite 20% a month kind of deal, but they opened up from covering about 7 states. They're now in close to, don't hold me to it, 30, 40 states. So they're just taken off again for 2021. They're a great bet for us.
Wow. So that's amazing. That's amazing growth. So what about your own growth? What have you learned since you launched this fund? From personal learnings, from investing, and then maybe some failure, something that mistakes you don't want to make again, but were important along the way.
Yeah. So what we learned from all of that is if we don't have a track record, then we need to write the checks ourselves first. We wouldn't ask other people to do something we wouldn't do. So my wife is in a fund out of her set of dollars and/or retirement funds. By the way, we take retirement funds, cash, all those kinds of things. So we've learned, write your own check first. Don't ask other people to do stuff, right? Number 2 is have a strategy. So there's a lot of people that come to us and say, we're raising money. And the first thing which is unusual for a VC to say is, why are you raising money at all? We grew our businesses by bootstraps. Have you talked about it? Have you looked at SBA loans? Have you looked at friends and family kind of ways, et cetera? And then on the investor side, what we're finding, Vijar, is that there are just too many people who don't have a strategy. They're out writing checks as angels or doing nothing. And if you don't have a strategy, then as the Chinese proverb says, if you don't know where you're going, take any road, it'll get you there kind of deal. So we take the time to say, look, let's create our strategy and share it with others so it can become an example. Just like we say, look, continue to do stocks and bonds and real estate in your own business, but take a piece of your pie that you're willing to wait on from a cash flow standpoint and make a very set of defined decisions. Our only strategy, by the way, is a single word. Okay, it's why Nobel Peace Prizes in economics have been given out. So if everybody's trying to find the next Apple or the next Amazon, good luck. We have found the only word that works is diversify.
Yeah.
If you can diversify and you build a portfolio, the reason we pick the number is we tell individuals try to do about one investment a quarter, and that way over 3 to 5 years you've built a nice wide portfolio. Now it doesn't have to be wide in terms of tech and healthcare and manufacturing, but it just needs to be wide enough, right? Tech is pretty wide, healthcare is probably pretty wide kind of deal. So that's another thing we've learned is have a strategy and then go with it. And to your point, the biggest part of strategy is the failures come early. The ones that go to zero will happen in the first 3 years.
Yeah.
Then have a nice mix of equity and debt, because in that slice of alternative financing, that way you get some cash flow coming. Etc. So again, it's part of that diversification, but have a strategy, diversify, and then be very clear about what do you want to do to help these companies grow.
So is there an area you're planning to bet more in, spend more of your time or invest in?
Yeah. Well, other than the fact that you're talking to the chief volunteer of Atlanta, maybe much of Thai US, I think I work for them full time. I keep doubling my salary, so I think it's okay. Zero so far. My W-2 has not arrived. But anyway, we've on the for-profit side, we're making a big bet in IoT, but we've done it with IoT on a blockchain platform. So that way we can give out what we've learned on debt investments, as well as have an upside with blockchain tokens, et cetera. So that's a big bet for us. And then I'm spending more time growing Thai University. A new one that we've learned that I think has a lot of opportunity is investing in underrepresented founders, women, Blacks, Hispanics, et cetera, et cetera. So we have a whole program called Thai Access in that regard. And we're about to invest. Last year we did 300,000 through Thai Atlanta Angels. We did another one through in a woman-led business, specifically through Thai Access, but from 11/11 this year. I'm hoping that more of us can do it across the U.S. because here's an area in which I think you can get great returns, and we have a way to do it through something that we call Thai Access.
Got it. Yeah.
Access to networking, mentoring, and funding. That's why
it's an excellent program. It's definitely it's great. It's great for young students. Definitely wasn't around when I was there, so it's amazing to see that happen. So what about for 2021? Is there a startup that you have in mind that you'd like to invest in? Something that you haven't gotten an allocation? Something you think will do really well?
So, like I said, right now we just in December started in this. My co-founder, as I said, got to the blockchain pivot and is now moving to the IoT pivot. So we're raising a lot of money, as much as 20 million this year just for this IoT play. I think it's got a lot of capabilities and possibilities. And because it has a debt component, we're sort of giving ourselves a floor that you can get up to 15% interest every quarter, annualized. That's a nice piece. So that's our big play here. The other part is that I think healthcare tech is an area that we are underrepresented in our fund. So we're always looking. We've got 2 or 3 out of our 40 in that area. So we'd like to sort of expand a little bit, but it's got to be not med tech devices, et cetera. Those are very long plays. So that's another area I think that we're going to continue to look for opportunities.
Amazing. Excellent. Thank you. So how can people contact you if they want to learn about 11/11, yourself, contact you, or maybe the Thai Atlanta chapter? What is the best way?
Yeah. So first of all, check us out, know a little bit about us, tell us what's resonating with you. 11/11, which is 11-11ventures.com, is easy. If you respond to anything over there, I'm likely to get the email. We're very hands-on, right? For Atlanta, if you want to know more of what we're doing, it's atlanta.thai.org. pretty straightforward. If you want to know about Thai University, it's thaiuniversity.org. But if you want to connect with me, I'll keep it simple. It's Paul at 11-11ventures.com. Right. We're glad to do a call, a WhatsApp, whatever, much like we're talking here. And you'll find we're very hands-on, and we're here to help you. We're going to help you figure out what are you trying to do and where does it fit. Because if you, again, have a strategy, if diversification resonates with you, we want to help you because it helps the whole ecosystem.
Right. So thank you, Paul. I appreciate this. Again, if anybody wants to contact Paul, you can find him on LinkedIn or send him an email, or you can reach out to me. This recording will be available online, YouTube, LinkedIn, and Twitter. So thank you again, Paul. Really appreciate your time. Thank you, everybody, for joining in again. Until next time, this is the Financier signing off. Take care, everyone.
Bye.